Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order and salute the flag. Jeff Spears, would you lead us in a salute to the flag, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight we're dedicating this meeting to Tom Dewhurst, who passed away last Thursday after a valiant 10-year battle with cancer. Our condolences to Aaron and his family. Tom worked in the highway department from 1996 through 2009, and then he was a town board member from January 2010 through December 2013. So I just would like to ask for a moment of silence. Thank you. Rita, the roll call.
Wendy Burton.
Here.
Ann Arendt, absent. Margaret Fallon. Nathan Virtue.
Here.
Corey Flanagan.
Here.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda. Does anyone have something they wanted to add? No. Second. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to open the public hearing to establish an ambulance district within the boundaries of the town of Stanford. So if you have something you want to say, please just go up to the podium and give your name and address and say what you'd like to say.
Second, please. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.
Is this to open, just to discuss the ambulance, or just to?
Yes, it's public hearing for the ambulance district.
Mark Burdick, 19 Burdick Way. I'm in favor of the town taking over that part of the budget for the fire department, or the rescue squad. Yep.
Does anybody have any questions about the way that the structure will work? Because we have two dentists here who can answer questions. Like normally it would take one dentist, but anybody have anything else to say about the ambulance district? Okay, then I guess I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second,
I second
please.
that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Town board liaison reports. Corey?
So the planning board meeting was a nice and brief meeting this time. It was about 11 minutes that we clocked in at. It was in reference to our prior future resident that wanted to adjust their apartment building and do a carport. So they basically wanted to go ahead and schedule a public hearing meeting, assuming that they would get the variances for the size of the carport and the size of the apartment building that they're trying to do. The planning board, they approved temporarily the public hearing. They were waiting to hear back from the decision from the ZBA about it.
Nothing.
Schedule mix-up.
Schedule mix-up with the rec.
Yep.
Margaret?
The CAC discussed updating their website, and also they have been working on a bench in the wildlife preserve in honor of Beth Ashton, and a lot of discussion about the installation of the bench. Oh, and 40 miles on the road cleanup, because I didn't know it at the last meeting, and it was 40 miles that was covered.
Terrific.
Nice.
Thank you. My supervisor's report. Well, you all received two, I think, payroll verification reports from me, as well as the supervisor's report and bank reconciliation. Year-to-date expenditures. This month we've started to make some line item adjustments to the budget in the general fund portion. But overall, our expenditures are on target. Year-to-date revenues, again, revenues in total are on target. However, I'm anxiously watching a few revenue lines, particularly fines from the court, as there is some catching up to do from the downtime the court experienced during the transition of judges. One high note is our interest income, where we've earned $11,500 above projection because of the hike in interest rates. I've moved funds from Millbrook Bank to our New York class accounts, which are totally liquid, but in order to take advantage of those interest rate increases. I want to give a hearty congratulations to the Stanford Republicans in cooperation with the Dutchess County Mental Health America Services for Veterans, who put on a moving and really successful fundraiser last Saturday, and they raised $1,966 that go right to the Dutchess.
Quick adjustment on that. It's just under $2,500.
Oh,
Is
nice.
That's with
That's excellent. Yeah, that's great.
that's not a tiny adjustment.
Yeah.
Just under $2,500.
That's great.
Which goes directly to the Dutchess County HMVM to provide services to Dutchess County veterans. And at that event, 7 Stanford veterans were honored. So it was,
Nice.
and I hope it's the first of many. I suspect it will be, but it was a big highlight.
Yes.
At this month's meeting of the Dutchess County Supervisors and Mayors Association, I just want to report that the topic of short-term rentals was discussed at length. The New York State Legislature has a bill in front of it that would create a statewide registry for this kind of rental unit. We, a bipartisan association, uniformly opposed the bill and sent a joint letter to the legislature. Many towns have passed their own laws concerning short-term rentals, which include fire and building safety inspections, health concerns such as adequate septic, parking, occupancy issues such as overcrowding. And we all agree that the state should take a giant step backwards and let home rule take its rightful place in adjudicating this very complex issue. Steve Godovich and I will be working together on 3 important issues that the town board will need to address: low-income disability exemptions, low-income senior real tax property exemptions, and the fireman's exemption. So we'll be tackling that the next week or 2 or 3. As far as liaison report, the Climate Smart Task Force met for the second time. They're working on their scorecard status, and hopefully we'll be able to qualify for a bronze certification by next March. That gives us access to grant money, easier access to grant money. They're collaborating with the CAC on certain projects, including composting education. One thing the town can do is put recycling bins in town hall, and I've asked Rita Mary to research getting a bin for cans and bottles since we're already recycling cardboard here. At some point, they'll be making the Climate Smart Task Force will be making a presentation at a town board meeting. Their overarching goal is energy conservation and public awareness. So that's my report. So I now make a motion to open privilege of the floor. Yes, Jack, hold on one second.
I second your motion.
Remember, try to keep your comments to 2 minutes. There'll be another session at the end of the meeting. Say your name and address to Rita Mary, and please speak from the podium.
All in favor of the public comment period?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Jack.
Jack Evans, 2248 Bull's Head Road. And I just want to read this that came from MHA here this morning as we delivered them their money. And so on behalf of Mental Health of America, Dutchess County, and the people we serve, thank you for your generous donation for our Vet-to-Vet program. MHADC is proud to provide the community with this much-needed program. Since its inception, Vet-to-Vet has provided services to veterans from all areas. We appreciate your support and our work. Anthony, Victor, Alyssa. So that was that was something I wanted to read from them. From us, want to thank the town board for their support for the Veterans Fundraiser on June the 3rd. We had a large amount of attendees, and our efforts raised just under $2,500. It was a nice amount of food, health, and beauty donations for the pantry. We consider a success. We appreciate all the mentions and notes from Supervisor Wendy, and we also appreciate the in-person attendance of Ann, Aaron, Nathan, as well as Rita Mary Bell. We've been asked by the residents if this will be an annual event, and we'd like to think it will be. Much of that is determined by cost, as the entire event was paid for personally by the members of the committee. So maybe next year we have a different game plan on that. I just wanted to mention there's a couple of things they gave me this morning, Vet to Vet. We have a Veterans Employment and Housing Resource Fair, which will be coming up at the Grand Hotel on June the 23rd from 11 to 3. I'll post this on the bulletin board. Also, 4th Annual Veterans Benefit Car Show and Wash in Germantown on July the 15th from 9 to 4. I'll post these up there, and I just want to present you with this thank you from Vet to Vet for all you guys. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah.
Yes, I'm Kathy Zier, 158 Shelley Hill Road. I have a letter which I will give the board to be included in the minutes, please, but I will read it right now. All right, I'm here to urgently address the current townwide crisis regarding prohibited contractor yards, the enforcement of such. I am not representing the Zoning Board of Appeals at this meeting, but my knowledge of the zoning is based on my many years on the Zoning Board of Appeals and currently the chairman for quite a few years. As background information, the current zoning code has many deficits, which has been frequently brought to the town board's attention, specifically with regard to contractor yards. The current zoning code prohibits contractor yards in all zoning districts of the town, as it is listed in definitions and not included in use tables. There is more to it, but it's a very complicated procedure. The definition is very vague and found verbatim in many older zoning codes, in which it has been eliminated and revised with zoning updates. The definition is any space, whether inside or outside a building, used for the storage or keeping of construction supplies, materials, equipment, machinery or vehicles, or parts thereof, which are in active use by a construction contractor. This definition does not clarify what the intent of the definition is. It is therefore open to wide interpretation and enforcement. This can potentially apply to a lawn mowing business, a plumber, electrician, as well as more extensive machinery, vehicle storage on any property in the town. The building inspector has issued a notice to a homeowner of the prohibited use of his property as a contractor yard, and has stated, in quotes, "You are hereby notified pursuant to section 164-47C of the Stanford zoning code that your use as a contractor yard is a violation of the town's zoning and must be remediated or removed within 10 days of service of this notice upon you." This is what other homeowners may be issued once enforcement occurs. As discriminatory enforcement is illegal, this becomes a town-wide enforcement. My suggestions are, number one, place a moratorium on enforcement of contractor yards to allow time to develop zoning law changes. Suggestions are, rewrite the definition to be more specific or eliminate it entirely from the zoning code. Allow use in town either as a permitted use in all districts, allowed use in some districts, or allowed use with special permits. grandfather in current contractor yards in town with basic site requirements if needed. This town board has indicated their intent is to not undertake this issue, but to wait until the new master plan is approved and have the to-be-appointed zoning commission address this. This needs to be addressed immediately, and I urge all homeowners to convey their concerns on this directly to the town board. In conclusion, I'm going to read from the New York State Division of Local Government Services Zoning Enforcement handout. Conclusion, effective zoning enforcement prevents or corrects violation of the zoning law and therefore effectuates zoning's basic purpose, which is important. The purpose is to protect the general health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of the municipality. The zoning law is only as good as its enforcement. Without proper enforcement, zoning consists merely of words on paper. Great care should therefore be taken when drafting the enforcement section of the zoning law. The authority to enforce and the procedures for doing so should be clearly spelled out. The ZEO, which is Zoning Enforcement Officer, which is in the town of Stanford, also the building inspector, should be given very specific guidelines regarding his or her powers and duties to avoid confusion and to promote greater consistency in enforcement. And again, I think this needs to be addressed by the town board. If they have any questions or would like more information on the zoning process, there's a lot of literature available, and I think it needs to be addressed. This is the letter that I just read.
Can you email it to me too? Can you email it to me as well? Jim?
James King, I live at 176 Charwell Drive. Evening board members and fellow community members. Last month I presented this board written examples of flagrant zoning violations at 158 Charwell Drive, as well as copies of the pertinent zoning code pages for your reference. At that time, I also requested a cease and desist order to be issued for the illegal commercial construction company being operated at 158 Charwell Drive. There's nothing obvious that has happened to those requests. I will say this about the zoning board of appeals chairman just mentioned. There is no mention in our current zoning laws in allowable use for we call it contractor's yards. It's a definition only. It's not anywhere in the use. If anybody looked at the zoning laws and scrutinized them as I have over the past 2 years that I've been complaining about this, you will realize that the operation of 158 Charwell Drive is an illegal operation and should be stopped. Why has it not? I don't know. But I will say one thing, that the fact that I originally complained about this, and then a month later they appointed the person that owns the property to the zoning board of appeals, that's unethical. And to expect the zoning board of appeals, if you go to them as a remedy for this, or as how it's ludicrous to expect that what they would give you would be what's the word? I'm lost for words. But it's be tough for them to be objective. Because after all, the person's been a member of the board for a couple of years now, and even if we were to recuse himself from a vote, his comments and feelings and so forth have got to be imparted on other members of the board. So, other than going to court, and I've listed a lot of the legal things where you're wrong, I don't know how this can be resolved, but I'm asking if you to issue a cease and desist order. And if you decide, well, maybe he'll get an appeal, we'll get even if that were, it would be after the fact. And that means he'd be able to operate until that were adjudified. And so it's just not right. It should be stopped. And the fact that you would look upon the zoning board of appeals as your last resort and adjudicate it is just kind of ludicrous. On March 23rd, the building inspector acknowledged the egregiousness of this operation, 158 Charlotte Drive, and issued guidelines of operation. And they're not being adhered to. So what's going on?
Jim,
Who is supposed to enforce the things that the building inspector said will be, who's supposed to?
Jim, we can't talk about this because actually attorneys are involved.
What?
Attorneys are involved, so we have nothing we can say to you.
All right. Well, I've been complaining about this for 2 years. And I've even went to the zoning board of appeals. They told me to go back to the building inspector. So I'm getting a little frustrated. I'm glad you were talking to your attorneys because they didn't want this to come down. And it's sad because it's a rural community. And to have a noisy construction company in your backyard, I mean, you all have to admit that's not right. And I asked that each member of the board look at the operation. It's not like a mom and pop organization where you got a couple lawnmowers and stuff there. This is big business. That's just not right in a rurally zoned area. I mean, common sense. If you looked at it, you would know that. And most of you have taken the time to look at it. I'm sorry, I've taken it down over. Thank you.
Mark?
Yeah, Mark Burdick, 19 Burdick Way. So I'm going to also talk about the same issue. So due to recent events, I think I'm correct in assuming that any contractor who meets the definition of a contractor yard or any contractor type work which is not listed in the use table, which there are none, are not allowed to have a business located anywhere in the town of Stanford unless they were located there at the present address prior to 1985 when the zoning ordinance was adopted. So if this is true, and I think it is, that means any lawn mowing contractor, any landscaper, plumber, electrician, stonemason, carpenter, HVAC contractor, cabinet maker, pool maintenance contractor, excavating contractor, fence builder are not allowed in Stanfordville not to have a business unless they were there before 1985, because none of them are listed in the use table. So I did a quick run around town yesterday morning and this morning. Obviously, this is not official, but I think there's at least 51 of those businesses in town. Most of them were not established before 1985. So these uses have been allowed to be established not only during Don Smith's time, but also under the prior 3 or 4 zoning enforcement officers. Obviously, this was a mistake not to list. I mean, just think about this. You can't have a business in Stanford. Nowhere. Not in the town center. Nowhere. No plumber, no electrician. So it had to be a mistake. How can we not allow these businesses? We rely on their services. They rely on their businesses to support their families. I believe the town board should make it a priority to address this issue and make an amendment to the zoning code immediately before some other business has to shut down. So, I mean, I don't think you can wait for the comprehensive plan and the zoning commission. That's, probably 3 years away. But obviously, you have to have those businesses in town. You can't not have the businesses in town.
Bob, could you just clarify, is a contractor's yard considered a business, or is it considered a place where things are stored.
Well, it has a definition. I think that's what the definition says. And
Wait, it says which one?
That it's the a place where stuff is stored and so forth.
So it's
I
not,
believe.
it's not defined as a business, it's defined as a place where machinery, et cetera, is stored, which is different than business.
Yeah, but the business isn't in the use table either.
You mean there's no contractors, I don't mean, like, so if you're Willie Brown and you make fences, that's not allowed in the town of Stanford? Because that's, except by special permit?
No. May I speak?
No, not right now, thank you. I'm trying to understand something.
I was just going to read the definition.
I believe that there's no in the use table.
Right.
I believe those uses are not mentioned.
Any of the things that a plumbing business, nothing? I don't have my code book on me.
No, but there are. It's not listed, but and in the
Thank you,
case.
Genesis.
Well, there is a certain use case listed that's listed under both commercial or industrial activity, but it's specified farm operations.
Yes.
So that's
there. I mean, it's. I think it's not uncommon that there are ambiguities and glitches in local codes. We're not alone in that case, but there's another section that would say that the principal use of in a residential zone, the principal use of a property that's improved by a residence is residential. Now there can be home occupations, there can be accessory uses, and there's this current dispute that we've been talking about for a couple of meetings, which is ongoing before not just our board, but also the ZBA at this point.
Oh, not the planning board, the ZBA?
Well, it's involved the ZBA in the past, and I don't know the current status. It may wind up back there. So, you know, I wouldn't want to comment on that or give any opinions at this point as to the merits or not of that matter, because it's yet to work its way through the system. I'm certain that it is not the intention of the town to zone out or render illegal all of the people in town who happen to be contractors of whatever trade.
Somebody writes a letter of complaint.
I think also that you know, the activities on a particular piece of property and how they may be classified and viewed probably depends on the facts of each particular case. So
I think if you read the ordinance, I've read that ordinance 100 times.
yeah, I know you have, Mark.
It's not an accessory use. Read the definition of it. I think the board needs to take a hard look.
It's funny because we were basically chastised for jumping into a zoning issue, but I totally take the point. We have inherited a zoning code that I thought went back to 1982, and for whatever, 82, 85, and that
84,
Oh, okay, we'll settle for 84. But, you know, and in the interim, I know since I've been here 17 years or however long, you know, there has been effectively any movement towards a comprehensive plan has been squashed. I do take your point that if we pass the comprehensive plan this year, it's going to take a while to get a zoning commission up and running, and even if this was the first thing on their plate, it's still, we're talking down the road. I do think Bob is correct that there's no intention whatsoever of going around and
I don't think so either, but if somebody writes a letter.
I think, again, as Bob said, it would depend on circumstances, but we will take this, we will speak amongst ourselves and figure out the best thing that we are able to do. And I really think, as far as the current situation, there's not much we can say because there already are lawyers in place.
We're talking about 50 others.
No, I understand, Bob. I do, and I get your point.
Is there anyone else wants to speak?
Okay, then. I will close this. I make a motion to close this privilege of the floor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So, new business. The nursery school, which is now probably 51 years old, they have lived in our building for almost 6 months.
Yeah.
Because they lost their home, and they have tried very hard to find another location. They have not been successful. I have spoken to our attorneys, and we are permitted to extend the license. We can do it for a year, and I would like to make a motion that we extend the nursery school's license to use the building 3 days a week from 9 to 12, from June to June.
I second that motion.
Would anybody like to discuss it?
Happy that we're able to do it.
I'm really happy
Same.
we can do it.
Right.
I mean, Rita Married intervened with the Board of Elections because we use that room for voting, and they came and they inspected this room, and we also have the community room, so they were okay with that. So as long as we got that heads up, it seems like a really good thing to do. Okay.
All in
Agreed.
favor?
Aye.
Terrific. Mindy will be so happy. Oh, I don't think we have much to discuss on local law number 1 about alarms. We found a glitch in the language in two words basically that need to be removed to clarify the law. In one place it says burglar alarms when it's really directed at fire alarms. So, I mean, the paragraph of that law, and the penalties that result. So we are sadly going to have to go through the whole process of passing the law again with, you know, we'll have a public hearing, we'll change the language, we'll make it public, we'll make the language public. I can't imagine that we'll have any more difficulty passing the newly worded language than we had the old language, but that's the discussion. Does anyone have anything else to say? And actually, I have to thank Jane Cottrell. When Bob Stram came in to ask me to write a letter that just clarified the intent of the new law, Jane read it and found the offending words. So thank you, Jane. And an update on the comprehensive plan. Well, we can just move to resolution 6A for that, right? Resolution 6A of 2023 to refer the revised comprehensive plan to Dutchess County for review and to set up a public hearing on this plan. Whereas the town board of the town of Stanford has completed its revision on the proposed comprehensive plan And whereas the town wishes to refer this plan to the Dutchess County Planning Department, and whereas the town board wishes to hold a further public hearing on the proposed comprehensive plan. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the town board directs that the proposed comprehensive plan be referred to the Dutchess County Planning Department for review, and be it further resolved that a public hearing on this plan be held on Monday, July 24th, 2023, at Town Hall at 7 p.m.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Wendy Burton?
I'm excited.
Yes.
Ann Aaron absent. Margaret Fallon.
Yes.
Nathan Lavirtue.
Yes.
Corey Clanahan.
Yes.
I think we need to put together a roster of every person in this town that put their blood, sweat, and tears into that plan. And like they have at Spark Park, we should put up the whole sign. Yeah, really.
Already, where will the public hearing be?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to gauge how many people are going to come. We could have it at
the school?
You mean at Cold Spring? We can ask, sure. We can ask. Well, they'd have to move
Not
everything
easily,
out of
yeah.
there. I mean, we could also see if there's anything at the high school. I don't know, but one of the auditoriums. We can look into that more.
When do you think the county will answer you versus when you would have?
They only have 30 days, and we're going to send it right away. So their comments will come back before the public hearing.
We'll ask them to expedite their review so that we have it in advance of the public hearing.
And that letter will be available?
The letters.
You mean what the county says? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sure. Here, Nathan.
Am I reading the budget
Yes.
modification?
Okay.
I can read it here if you want.
Why don't
That
you?
way you can keep your book together. So this is just a budget modification resolution. We are moving funds from one place to another for various reasons, so. Whereas the town of Stanford has expenditures for the adopted 2023 general fund lines that will exceed the amount of the fund available in these certain budget lines, and whereas the general funds have funds available on either lines and need to transfer such funds to provide for the expenditures, now therefore it be resolved that the town of Stanford Town Board hereby amends and transfers from and to budget lines listed below. So we are moving for $193.54 from the special project account ending in 1624.045 to the zoning commission. The other way around. We are moving $2,000 from the zoning commission to central printing. We are moving $32.23 from the zoning commission to the workers' comp account, and then $1,158.08 from the zoning submission to the special projects, and I'm assuming the SAL is short for salary?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
Wait, the special projects, that's the salary line.
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
that's all.
sorry.
Nathan
second
made
the
the
motion.
I'm making a motion, yeah.
I
Wendy
second.
seconds.
Yes.
Wendy Burton.
Yes.
Ann Aaron absent. Margaret Fallon.
Yes.
Nathan Lavirtue.
Yes.
Corey Clanahan.
Yes.
Okay, resolution 6C. To transfer funds from American Rescue Funds account New York class ending in 9 and move the funds to the general fund ending in 18. This is a housekeeping measure. We passed a resolution to use the American Rescue Plan funds for the new carpet. But we didn't make a resolution to actually transfer the funds, which is what this is. So whereas the town of Stanford will be investing American Rescue Plan funds to pay for the removal and installation of carpet by Foster Flooring at town hall hallways and this room, whereas the New York class account ending in 9 American Rescue Fund account contains funds for this purpose, whereas the town of Stanford will transfer funds from the New York class account to the Millbrook General Fund account. Now therefore be it resolved, the supervisor is authorized to complete the following budget modification and transfer the funds from the American Rescue Funds account to the general fund.
I second that motion.
Wendy Burden,
Yes.
and Aaron absent. Margaret Fallon,
Yes.
Nathan LaVertue,
Yes.
Cory Clanahan.
Yes.
Okay, then our very last resolution is the resolution 6D of the town board of the town of Stanford to vote on the establishment of the ambulance district. And Bob, you want to lead us through whatever torture you have to lead us?
Yeah, okay. Sorry, folks. So we have to do, before addressing the resolution for the action itself, we've got to go through seeker, the State Environmental Review process. So we have a series of documents on that. And I'll pass them out to the board members and Rita. Pass those down, please. Part 1 just describes the action, and this is to adopt the resolution, which is subject to a permissive referendum establishing the ambulance district, and the boundaries are coterminous with the entire town. And and this is just a town board action. We're not seeking any bonding authority or anything like that from the that would have to involve the comptroller's office, and it doesn't involve the construction of a project within the town. So most of this form, which deals with project impacts, does this affect existing wetlands or something like that, is just totally irrelevant, and did not need to be answered. So, Wendy, you at some point you'll need to sign this document. The second form is part 2.
Bob, I have a question about this one.
Yes.
Do we also need to indicate forest for item 4?
Number 4.
For the land uses?
Yes, I would say, yeah, you could check that.
Okay.
Check that on the copy that'll be signed.
Okay. It was identified on line 14, that's why I was asking.
Yeah, understood.
Thanks.
So then the second form is part 2 of the environmental, of the EAF, Environmental Assessment Form. And this is the form where we review possible impacts. And there's a series of questions there. Will this action in forming this district conflict with our land use plans or zoning? Will it result in change in use or intensity of land? Impair the quality of the community? Have an impact on a CEA? Have traffic impacts, energy impacts, water impacts, aesthetic impacts, and so on and so forth. And these are all answered no. And so Wendy, you'd sign that document too. So then the third document, this is the resolution on seeker, and this would be a motion made by Wendy and seconded by one of the council people to saying that we have reviewed the environmental impacts, we reviewed the nature of the action that we're taking in forming this district. And would you like me to read it?
Oh, gosh, no.
No, thank you. So it basically says that be it resolved that the town board determines that the action is called an unlisted action, which is something that might but doesn't necessarily involve environmental impacts. The word lead agency, and there are no other involved agencies, and that the action will not result in any significant environmental impacts, and that a negative declaration be issued. That means that there are no significant environmental impacts. So that's the motion.
And that will be resolution 6E. D. No, we have D already.
Well, not,
D is the resolution of the town, that's a different resolution.
but don't we have to do this one first, or does it matter?
It doesn't matter what
It
the
doesn't.
letter is, it's
Okay.
just, yeah. So this is E, okay, because we have D.
Okay.
Okay.
But who's making the motion on 6E?
You are,
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but.
please don't.
But,
Yeah, they do have to be enacted in order.
Right, it does
Suppose
have
you
to be
can
this one.
Label them however you want,
Right.
but it's.
But we need to do this first.
But it has to be done in order.
Right.
Maybe you should read them. I don't know if it is.
it's long, it's lengthy. I mean, it's basically what Bob just said.
I understand it.
I mean, the key part of it is that, I can read the key parts, which is, the town board will determine that the action is an unlisted action under seeker, and the town board shall serve as lead agency, and since there are no other involved agencies, it is not necessary to conduct a coordinated review, and that the reasons set forth in Part 3 of the EAF, which is the second form that Bob gave us, the action will not result in any significant adverse impacts on the environment, and therefore that environmental impact statement needs to be prepared and a negative declaration therefore be issued. And then it's asking that the board approves it, so I make a motion that we adopt this resolution 6E, which is a resolution of seeker determination with a negative declaration for establishment of a townwide ambulance district.
I second that.
Second by Wendy.
Yep. Wendy Burton,
Yes.
Ann Aaron absent, Margaret Fallon.
Yes.
Nathan Virtue,
Yes.
Corey Carnahan.
Yes.
Okay, and now the last step is to adopt the resolution forming the
That's the long one.
That's this one.
forming the district, subject, however, to a permissive referendum. And that means that if 50% of the property owners in the town file a petition opposing this motion, then it has to be submitted for a vote of the property owners.
Okay.
But otherwise, if no petition is filed, then the resolution takes effect.
Right.
So resolution, this is 6D of 2023 of the town, Stanford Town Board. And this will be in the minutes and on file in the office. Whereas the specific boundaries of the proposed ambulance district are as follows: all properties located within the boundaries of Stanford, Town of Stanford, Dutchess County, New York. Now therefore be it resolved that subject to permissive referendum that the Town of Stanford hereby establishes an ambulance district for the benefit of all of the property and property owners in the proposed ambulance district. Be it further resolved that the boundaries of such ambulance district shall include all property located within the boundaries of the Town of Stanford, Dutchess County, New York. Be it further resolved that this resolution is subject to permissive referendum. It is hereby ordered that the clerk of the Town of Stanford shall file this resolution in the office of the clerk. Shall file this resolution in the office of the clerk of the Town of Stanford and make such resolution available for public inspection. And it is further ordered that the clerk of the Town of Stanford shall cause to be prepared and have available for distribution proper forms for a petition seeking a public referendum, and shall distribute a supply to any person requesting the same. And be it further ordered that if, after the expiration of the time for filing a petition requesting that the matter be submitted to a referendum of property owners of the proposed ambulance district, no such petition has been filed with the town clerk. The town clerk is directed to file a certificate stating such fact to the office of the Dutchess County Clerk. And it is further ordered that upon the filing of such a certificate in the office of the Dutchess County Clerk, the town board shall adopt a final order establishing the ambulance district.
What is the length of time again for that?
30 days.
30 days.
Second?
Okay.
Second.
Wendy Burton?
Yes.
Ann Aaron absent. Margaret Fallon?
Yes.
Nathan LaVertue?
Yes.
Corey Carnahan?
Yes.
I have to say, I'll be really happy when all of that is met and we take this action and get it off the plates of the fire district, which it basically is now, officially. I make a motion to approve the minutes of May 11th.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
I,
Abstain.
oh, you weren't here.
Wasn't here.
Make a motion for the approval of the abstract for June. General fund spent $72,586.36. Highway, $18,070.29. Bengal Lights, $852.23.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay then. I now make a motion to open the second privilege of the floor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes?
Kathy Zier, 158 Shelley Hill Road. I just want to clarify the discussion that you had with Mark Burdick regarding businesses. My interpretation is that the town does not prohibit businesses until you use any space in or outside of a building used for the storage or keeping of construction supplies, materials, equipment, machinery, or vehicles, or parts thereof, which are in active use. Basically, you can have a business, but as soon as you bring home your plumbing truck and put your plumbing supplies in your garage, under the current law, it becomes a contractor's yard. The interpretation is very vague. It's not easily defined, and that's why I think a moratorium to give everybody a chance to look into this legally, to look into what other towns have done, and correct this. Because as you heard earlier, there was a citizen's complaint regarding the property. That's all it's going to take for other people in this situation to be sitting here with the same problem. I think that we want to help people. That's the mission of zoning, is to make it fair and make it work for everybody. But this part of the code, and I know from speaking with people who were familiar to the original situation with the zoning code, actually Mark left. His father was a supervisor before zoning, I believe, right, Mr. Bucks?
Sure.
But he said that the zoning code was a template from the Westchester County, some town. And this was just thrown in and missed.
And I think the whole definitions were just
Right. So I do think this needs to be addressed immediately. We can't wait for the master plan zoning commission. I've been on those commissions. It took us 6 months to work up with the local road ordinances. So I really implore other people who have any opinions on this to let the board know that this is something that has to be addressed. Or we could be sitting with 61 of illegal use on properties, and I don't want to see that happen.
yes, Jim.
I agree, this has to be addressed, the sooner the better. You have zoning laws, they should be enforced. If there was a mistake made, so be it. You correct it when next time you do the zoning law. But the law exists. Just because a law is a mistake doesn't mean you ignore it. And yeah, it should be addressed. Should be addressed sooner the better. And just because somebody has a business in their backyard, it's not a big thing until, if you look at the zoning laws, the noise, the size of the operation, everything affects neighboring activity, neighboring properties. That's when it becomes a problem. And that's the problem with the business at 158 Charwell Drive. It's not a mom and pop operation. It's a big, big deal. And those of you that have visited and looked at the site realize that. So anyway, you're right. It should be addressed right away.
Thank you, Jim.
Just for clarity, a citizen complaint about something on it would not qualify an immediate cease and desist from it. It would merely bring the attention to it for the board to address, or the
The building
appropriate commission,
inspector, or
right?
the
The
code
appropriate
enforcer.
authorities to address the situation. It wouldn't immediately pertain to a shutting down of said business, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And the enforcement is with the building inspectors.
Not with the town.
Right, not with the town board, right. Okay.
Yeah. Anybody else? Okay, then I would make a motion to close the privilege of the floor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ms. Margaret? Oh, wait, are we going to go into executive session?
We had to for a couple minutes.
Yeah.
I thought we had to, yeah.
For litigation purposes? Okay. Then,
Tell Jeff something quick, but we can take a
Sure.
small break before that.
yeah. I will. That's your ride home?
Was.
Jack will take you
I
home.
just have one question, and that is, I've only been to a few of these meetings, but I've listened to this gentleman speak a couple times, and apparently, he's been speaking for a couple years. So I just wonder can you tell us where you are with the situation? What is the next move? What's your game plan for it?
As I said, that this is with lawyers
Yeah.
now, so.
So it's gone to a legal
Mhm.
situation. All right, I'm just
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah. Okay then, Margaret?
Oh, I make a motion to close the meeting and adjourn the meeting and go to executive session.
I second that motion.
For litigation. Well, thank y'all for coming.
Thank you.
Hey,
Oh, Stacy?
Jeff.